Hi everyone, today we're going to be talking about Sword and Shield. With Generation 8 reaching the end of its lifespan, Generation 9 is starting in just over 2 weeks. I figured now would be a good time to just look back at Sword and Shield and just talk. Just talk about my opinions on it. I want to hear your opinions in the comments as always. I guess where else do we begin but Dexit? Sword and Shield, was the hype for it was, it was decent. It was like, yes, this game looks good. It looks, people were, maybe criticizing some things here and there. But yeah, for the most part, people were, it was relatively like, yeah, okay, this is the next step. And then Dexit, Dex cut, not a lack of national decks. We can't catch them all anymore. Ugh. Personally, at first I was upset. I was upset about Dexit, but then after thinking about it, I was like, damn, this was inevitable. And I think a lot of people have finally, begrudgingly come to the same conclusion that this was inevitable. It kind of has to happen. One thing I do hear a lot of people that, that are against Dexit say is like, oh, well, the least they could do is allow all the Pokemon to be usable through Pokemon Home. And I mean, I guess my sort of response to that is like it just adds a lot of confusion for like the players. Like they can't just simply add all the Pokemon to the game to be usable from Pokemon Home. Like, yes, they have all the data, but they have like a lot of other things to consider. And I think everything's just a lot cleaner this way. There's a lot less confusion. There's probably a lot less bugs to worry about, and they don't have to take into consideration for everything, right? Let's say, for example, Deoxys. Let's say, for example, Deoxys is not available in Scarlet and Violet to catch, but like, let's say they did the whole every Pokemon is usable, and you can just bring Deoxys from Pokemon Home in. How do you change its form? They have to consider that, and I think it's just a lot cleaner doing it the way that they're doing it. And it's obviously like in a perfect world, sure, you'd be able to use them all, but like every other sort of monster catcher in the genre has been doing it this way. So I think Pokemon doing it was inevitable. And I it was controversial, but I don't know if it helped. I'm pretty sure it helped the game because Pokemon Sword and Shield, if I'm remembering correctly, is like the second most sold Pokemon game behind Red and Blue. Maybe it's behind Gold and Silver too, but either way, it's like one of the most sold Pokemon games ever, which is just insane. So as for moving past Dexit, the games themselves, personally, I think the games had the best Pokemon designs thus far, consistency-wise. Dragapult and Toxtricity, all the fossils. I'm not huge on the starters, but they did grow on me, especially, Cinderace. I love Cinderace. Reboot's awesome. I think the only ones I really don't like is like Inteleon and like Rillaboom. I like Rillaboom a little bit more, like, cause it's probably sounds weird and shallow and surface level, but like when a Pokemon is good and competitive, I kind of start liking it a little bit, and how good Rillaboom is made me like him a little bit. Okay, not gonna lie. So yeah. I mean, most of the starters grew on me. I think the designs are just some of the most solid we've had in terms of Pokemon. Like some of my most favorite Pokemon are from this generation. There were a few stinkers, as there are every generation, but I think in terms of like just designs, and I mean regional forms too, like Zigzagoon, Obstagoon, Runerigus, like there's just, I think design wise, they were in their bag. I think it's pretty unmatched. I genuinely, when Generation 8 came out, I was like, damn. The like Generation 8 designs are competing with like Gen 3, Gen 4 designs in terms of like how good they are. Like I genuinely love them. I think Generation 8 has got my favorite designs consistency wise. And then when it comes to characters, I think they did a really good job with characters too. A lot of memorable characters, a lot of personality in them. I think the most overrated one is definitely Marnie. She's definitely very overrated. But besides that, a lot of really cool, lovable, memorable characters, and some of the best designs so far. I think the jump to 3D definitely did allow for like a lot of like exploration in like the Pokemon designs, because like think about like Eternatus and like Dragapult and like Toxtricity. Like, yes, there are sprites of them, but like, would we have a design that's always been my stance on this. Like, I think 3D has allowed for some crazy, crazy designs, because would we have a design like Eternatus back in like Gen 3, Gen 4, Gen 5, you know, when everything was pixel art? Like, yes, you can convert a 3D model like of Eternatus into pixel art, but like, would you be able to start from scratch and make something like as crazy as that and like convey it, you know? Like, the reason we can look at like a pixel art of Eternatus and sort of get the gist of what we're looking at is because we've seen it in 3D before. So yeah, genuinely some of the best designs and stuff like that yet. Now we're gonna go into the actual game itself, like level scaling in the wild area. Yeah, so the wild areas. I mean, let's just talk about the wild area. The wild area, at first, and the first playthrough, really exciting, really awesome place to explore. Doesn't really, in the second, third playthrough, not as exciting. But I mean, it was a blast to just run around and have the Pokemon run at you, and different times of day, weather changes. Like, it was the wild area was a nice addition to the game. And like I said, there is level scaling in the wild area depending on, I guess, how many badges you have. I believe it was the Pokemon's levels go up or down, which was pretty cool. Definitely necessary, and I hope to see that going forward in more Pokemon games. And on top of the level scaling, I think just the leveling in Sword and Shield in general was really good. My experience was, at least personally, I've had some people say that their experience with the levels was bad because I guess they used too many experience candies. But for me, just playing through the game start to finish, I didn't really stray away and grind too much, because I didn't really need to. If I were battling trainers in their 30s, there was usually wild Pokemon that were also roughly the same level as my team, and I didn't have to grind a Pokemon from level 15 to 30 just to use it. Like, if I caught a Pokemon, it was usable right away, which was a huge W, and I think underlooked part of Sword and Shield. I think they did the level, because I mean, like, leveling in Pokemon is always going to be controversial. People play differently. Some people love the grind. So for my playstyle and everything, I think they did a really good job at just the leveling in those games. Now, one of the biggest focuses of Pokemon Sword and Shield, of course, was battling, made obvious by the entire point of the game being really just like the gym challenge, and like the sort of like the legendary sort of like evil team aspect of it was kind of like pushed to the wayside. Like, you still did encounter Team Yell, the evil team, which wasn't really, it was just like a cheerleader squad, basically. You still encountered them, and there was still some bad stuff that happened, but the main focus of the game was the gym challenge and battling, and I think this was a good generation in that regard. Personally, my favorite part of Pokemon is the battles, so never going to complain about that. And with that, in mind, they actually made competitive battling like really good, in my opinion. Obviously with the cut of some Pokemon, they could like choose to balance the game in a certain way that they wanted. And the quality of life, just the pure quality of life, they made it basically like not even, they made it so unnecessary to hack Pokemon, to the point I don't hack Pokemon anymore. I vowed to stop hacking Pokemon because I played Pokemon Go and I really enjoyed just having this Pokemon that I caught, and in Pokemon Go, you kind of just level it up. But I enjoyed having this Pokemon that I put time and effort into. So, like, that made me want to try it in the main games. And Sword and Shield was definitely, like, they made it so easy. They've got Nature Mints ability patches. There's a person at the Pokemon Center that allows you to rename your Pokemon and relearn moves. And yeah, like, in terms of quality of life, Sword and Shield, huge W in that regard. And of course, another really good thing about the game was the raids. That, of course, was raids you could do in the wild area. Of course, there was in the DLC, the Crown Tundra DLC, you could do the Dynamax Adventures. Dynamax Adventures was such a good addition. I still like go back and play it to this day. Dynamax Adventures was very good. Raids was just a really good way for us to grind for items, to, there was a time where there was like exploits of how you could get like, infinite shiny Pokemon from raids. Like, that was a really exciting time. Again, I'm a Pokemon Go player, and I love raiding in Pokemon Go. That was my main purpose of playing Pokemon Go, was for the raids. I loved walking around with friends, doing raids, hatching eggs while I walked. Like, I love raiding. I think raiding, with other players is really fun, and I'm really stoked that Scarlet and Violet are keeping raids, and I really hope that every Pokemon game from now on just keeps raids. I think raids is a good feature. It's a good way to, maybe they can mix it up, and like they have with Scarlet and Violet, they mixed up raids and how raids work. It's not just like, it's turn-based, but it's not like everybody makes, you know, one move per turn. Like, you know, it's got a timer and it's different, right? I apologize. I completely did lose my train of thought there, but regardless, raids are good, and I really want them to keep them coming in every game. It's a good way to get items. It's a good way to get competitively viable Pokemon, which is, I think, Scarlet and Violet's approach to it is they're going to be kind of focusing on raids in the sense of different terror types. So big thumbs up for me. Now let's jump to the ugly of Sword and Shield. There's a lot that people will probably say that I'm forgetting, but me personally, here are my biggest gripes. So the main one, I think the most important one, is that the entire game, besides the wild area, felt like a hallway. It's like meant to be this like 3D Pokemon game, but like you're kind of just walking in like a straight line, left, right, up or down. There's not much like room to kind of just walk around like that, you know? So I definitely, like, as pretty as some of the areas were, like I forgot the name of the town, but the town with where Team Yell's gym is, the 7th gym, that was literally like the most gorgeous area, but it was just a straight, like a Mario level, walking from left to right. And yeah, definitely could have done better in that regard. But hey, I mean, I still did enjoy the game, but definitely just a big hallway. The only exploration was in the wild area. Shiny hunting. So shiny hunting is still something I don't understand how it works in Sword and Shield. I think most people just resided to doing eggs, Masuda eggs, because like shiny hunting any other way was just, I mean, before the Dynamax Adventures came out, shiny hunting in the wild was just like confusing. Like it was some sort of like chain you could do, but it didn't really give you an indicator of how the chain worked. It was just, it wasn't even that much of a boost if you did get a chain going. So like it was basically always better to just do eggs if you want, you know. I mean, obviously there were people that liked doing the wild hunts because the wild hunts gave you like marks or something. But yeah, shiny hunting in this game was before Dynamax Adventures was a little scuffed, and yeah, that is unfortunate. There's the cooking, which I mean I never really got a grasp of. I didn't really enjoy it. Not for me, but I just wanted to mention, yeah, you could cook in this game. I'm glad that the cooking didn't really seem to have much of like an impact on anything like valuable, like competitive or anything like that. Whereas Scarlet and Violet might be the opposite. I think Scarlet and Violet are actually making cooking a bigger part of their games, making a Subway sandwich a bigger part of their games. So yeah, then we've got the DLC, Isle of Armor. I hated it, man. I mean, I enjoyed playing it like the first time, but like when I was kind of bored. It just wasn't, I didn't really care for Kubfu. I don't know. It was just cool seeing like new characters, I guess, and seeing new Pokemon. But for the most part, wasn't the biggest fan of the Isle of Armor DLC. The Crown Tundra was much better, but it was still like, it felt pretty hollow compared to like obviously the rest of the game. But I guess we got 2 new wild areas, which was always fun. And the last main big point was the 20-minute timer. The reason why Sword and Shield free-for-alls were, I mean, they lasted for a while, but like they did get very hard to keep doing them. Besides the lack of Pokemon, there was also the 20-minute timer, which just meant like we had to be making our moves like that. Like I'm all for simplifying experiences in games. Like I totally get simplifying the experience. It makes sense in certain regards, but in this regard, why? I really hope and pray that Scarlet and Violet addresses this, because just having the battles only be able to be 20 minutes long, it is bullshit. And that is, for the most part, everything I can remember about Sword and Shield. I don't want to make this video too long. But yeah, I mean, overall, I genuinely did really enjoy the games. I think the quality of life was awesome. The battling was awesome. Oh my God, I completely forgot to talk about Dynamaxing. Oh yeah, Dynamaxing was a thing in this game. Dynamaxing, I didn't like Dynamaxing. I liked it from like a story that was fun, I guess. The Gigantamax designs were super cool. It's sad that we're not going to see the Gigantamax Pikachu again, you know, Gigantamax Toxtricity. I do like Gigantamaxing designs and stuff, but from like a battle gimmick, you know, all it did was double your HP and give you like a fancy schmancy move. Like I just didn't, I mean, I understand it was really good in like VGC and stuff like that, but personally didn't really enjoy it much. So another thumbs down for Dynamaxing, I guess. But either way, I might be a bit biased because I'm from the UK. I loved it because it was based in the UK. Oh yeah, the town names. Oh my God, I'm not done with this video yet, sorry. The town names. I just want to say, like, Postwick is the most, like, I'm pretty sure it is like an area in the UK, because like Postwick is like the most British sounding like place ever. I loved the town names. Like the town and city names were perfect in this game. It sounded like it was really in the UK, and the designs of like the scenery, like the world. It looked very British, and I think they did good research. Like I remember the seventh gym town. I forget what it's called, but the seventh gym town literally had like bins, and the bins like looked exactly like they were from Glasgow, and I loved it. Either way, yeah. That is my final point. Yeah, Sword and Shield. I really did enjoy these games a lot. I feel like they get a lot more hate than they deserve personally, but. To each their own, I suppose. Genuinely, one of the best Pokemon games yet. Genuinely, really did love them. Zacian is great, man. Stabby! There's so much we could talk about with these games, but overall, very, very, I think they were solid. Very solid games. And hopefully they improve with Scarlet and Violet.